Hello.
Mute button. Hey, how are you?
I couldn't think of any other way to describe what happened today.
Yeah, we had a couple things that worked out really well.
A few earlier in the day, a
Yeah,
lot of the stocks that we were looking at this morning found support and kind of just slowly drifted higher, but there was definitely some opportunity in the morning.
yeah. That first 45 minutes, I would say, uh, Amazon we had real definitive levels, and they found those levels.
To take a look.
And when I think we called out a move through 672 would bring it to 676 and then to 680. And I think we warned at 680 that this is about all it could do. And that's exactly what happened.
Yep, right around this level. There was quite a few stocks today that, and I guess Netflix is in that category as well, where it's reaching some levels, both in amount of days in the same direction as well as approaching resistance levels. We kind of hinted this morning that there's a big difference between not wanting to be long versus not wanting to be long now.
Right.
And some of these stocks are getting to those levels. And I got a couple of emails about missing out on trades long. And I'm like, it's not a matter of missing out on the one trade that is an outlier. You have to set up your day to match what usually happens. And when a stock gets to the fifth, sixth, and seventh day of green in a row, that's not normal. And you have to trade for what happens most of the time, not what happens once in a while.
Right.
And I think that's a problem that a lot of people have too when they do a lot of back testing, because they try and back test yesterday's price action to what should be a long-term strategy, which really is kind of optimizing it just for the recent price action and not actually testing whether you have a valid strategy over time or not.
I totally agree. If you take 10 stocks in that scenario, sure, the one that they saw today went through, but the nine others didn't.
Right, exactly,
And you would be
exactly.
a loser.
So it's you got to really I don't know if it's the right way to word it, but you certainly have to break some thought patterns of what it means to be successful over time. And I think we're really starting to do a good job where the group, especially obviously the morning group, is really starting to understand it's not trade by trade, but that's a little tough to get through sometimes when when you have to make money.
Right. I think that's exactly it. Some people do have to make money. Everyone's got to pay their bills. So it comes.
Should we
We had a surprising stock that worked out really well today was Lulu.
again another one of those stocks? Now it's reaching really good volume. Now 4 days of well bid in a row. We kind of talked about it a little bit this morning. Robin had mentioned that there was a possible story out of it, and we didn't take it out of the list. We just said be aware of the news. And boy, what a follow through.
Yeah, it really, really did. It was amazing.
Financials did not participate today, which was well. Actually, you know what? Before we get into that, how did you read the market today? Like what are you taking away from? Let's say you're doing a class at the end of the day, and you say, okay, class, let's take a look at the price action and volume in the spiders today, and put it in the context of what's going on in the big picture. What would you say?
Well, I would say I came in the day rather bearish. Internals looked good. The market itself, I thought, had held up well. We didn't get the follow through.
You mean you came into the day bullish?
Right. So we
Right.
didn't get the follow through that I expected. However, we never really fell apart either. I'm still holding on to my bullish thesis, but I have a lot more caution.
And how does that caution translate it to trade management? We actually had a couple of questions about that in the room today. Like, what do you mean by
Um,
that?
I wouldn't be. We had talked earlier about if something's beneath the level, maybe get a little bit of it, and when it goes through to buy it, I would not be buying it until it gave me its signal and got through its resistance anymore.
Okay.
Because some of them tried, could not get through, and then you ended up holding the stock you originally had to get out of it. Of course, you shouldn't have gotten too much, but still, I don't think it's uh, the follow through was quite there today. We didn't have much that followed through.
So let's say traders getting long in this area here. Granted, it's 1 o'clock. We're finishing up lunchtime, and this hour starting here, and it collapses. and the trader comes to you and says, "What did I do wrong?" I personally would say you didn't do anything wrong. You just didn't get followed through. How would you?
I totally agree with you. You didn't, if you didn't get out, you did something wrong, but you should have gotten out, because you know what? It did not work out. It could have gone either way. It went down. So I hope you got out, because the right trade was to get in, but it was also to get out when it broke it.
Yep, and I think in this environment as well, we've had some trades that have gone down in the middle of the day and then rallied and came all the way back up here. I think in the market we're in right now, you should not be buying any stocks that are trading below the opening price. They're down there for a reason, because they weren't able to hold the morning bid, and we're not in a tape where the market is kind of like lifting everything right now. There's really apathy in the market right now, and I can't tell if it's because we're still consolidating this move higher, which we discussed a lot in the morning, or if it's because we haven't gotten through this level all year, and the reward potential to get through there is not there. And I think the better trade is if we get above here.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Because I could definitely see it myself, Marin. If I was allocating like to a fund or whatever, I'm not sure I'd be allocating money to be long right now until we got through this level.
Right, exactly. And I think that before tomorrow, before today, this morning, I would have bought a little bit on the way up, but no longer. It's going to have to prove itself now. Now it has to prove itself. After today, it's going to have to, signal that it's going higher.
So I think, again, this has been the theme, especially in the live trading room, for about 6 months now. It's extremely stock specific, and if the market happens to be obvious that day in the direction of some of your stock specific ideas, great, but we're not really relying on it right now. I mean, there's been a disconnect pretty much 2 out of 5 days between the market internals and what the price action is doing. I think you've said that every day for the last week and a half. I don't understand why, and then all of a sudden it corrects itself. But we are in a stock specific market, and you have to really be on top of which sectors you're trading. We mentioned agricultural stocks this morning, and actually you made a really good call about the stock being down at support here, and the last 2 days not shorting into this. And not only was it not a good short today, but it actually ended up having a really solid trend in the other direction today. So I think you really have to be in day trading mode right now. The financials are not in the picture whatsoever. Every time they look like they're gaining a footing and staying above the short-term moving averages, they just melt lower. There's no other way to put it. I mean, Goldman here, other than the first 10 minutes of the day, was below the opening price the entire day.
Yeah.
It's tough to make a case to want to be long them right now.
Yeah, I think it's actually kind of silly to be long right now.
So where are you finding pockets of opportunity? I've been.
Well, I had Lulu and Amazon is where I made my money today, or Amazon real early on. And I think I mentioned in the room that I was getting out of half of it up at 80, and that I ended up getting out the rest of it when it broke down below.
Our Facebook continues to consolidate. Another doji candle, although it did close. I wouldn't exactly call it near the high, although that's what it was. I would kind of call it more of a neutral trade today, but I don't see this selling off as much as we just looked at in Goldman Sachs, because they're still not giving an impulse down at all, really, other than this one day.
I totally agree with you. I think it is holding up there.
So I actually, if I had to give a forecast on anything reaching new highs, with between now and let's say the end of the week, I would think that this one would be the one that would do it.
Yeah. What do you think about Apple? I was totally surprised at the weakness in Apple today.
Obviously, we're not shocked that it couldn't get through 120. I mean, that's been the level now for a good 4 or 5 months. The amount that is sold off, yes, absolutely. A $2 trend to the downside, closing near the lows, not what I expected. I think actually we were pretty pumped actually this morning that we actually consolidated with the doji on lighter volume on Friday up near the resistance level. And we were looking for a couple of more days to do that, anticipating then a push to 125 towards 120 towards 125.
Right, exactly.
But the fact that we got an actual trend day down, I almost feel like we have to have another one in order to be a buyer, because we shoved off of that level pretty hard, and I don't know if one day of selling is going to be enough to feel comfortable bidding into that. So I'm actually looking for one more day down before we start to bid the stock again. If we open flat and test yesterday's low, which is now today's low, as support and get bottoming tails down there, that might give me an early signal to retrade it back up to 120. But under no circumstances, the closer it gets to 120, would I be adding to it. I'd just be looking to get out up into that level.
Yep, I totally agree. I think it's showing you that it's going to take quite a bit to get it through that 120.
I think the one thing we need to really get across to everybody, and I see it in the Facebook group as well as emails. I think there needs to be a little bit of a dialing back with activity right now. There's really, like, we were in ESRX this morning, and got some really solid price action out of the gate, and didn't get followed through. There was some levels that we were looking for that we got through them but didn't hold. I think that traders need to understand that it's not a 40-hour work week. There's pockets of opportunity to earn money, and if the market's slow, if you're not getting followed through, you should either reduce your risk, or as Joan said in the meeting, I only take my A trades in this environment. I think she calls them tier one. It's basically the same thing. I think it's very, very important, because you could not only ruin your confidence, but ruin what has been a relatively good few months of trading, because you want to overtrade 3 days before Thanksgiving.
Right. We had another good trade in there. Robin called out Macy's very early, and Macy's, for a stock that's been so weak, held up really well.
Yeah, this is one of the few that actually trended higher today, stayed above the open, and closed near the highs. There aren't many stocks that we watch on a daily basis that did that today.
Yeah, and it held at 40, which I was pretty surprised at.
Well, Tesla was one that we didn't really discuss a lot in the morning, but I think that's why it's kind of back right in the middle of this range right now, and I don't see an edge right now. You can clearly see we're in the middle of this box right now, and calling anything out, in my opinion, right now is a guess on this, other than trading a breakout of this, which is now an inside day leading to a breakout.
Yep, I agree.
If you just look at the order flow, I mean, it's literally in a box now for almost 2 months. So
Yeah.
if Tesla is one of your day trading stocks, it's got to be day trading mode, which you did a real good job this morning explaining. That basically means you're using the most recent reference points, today's open, and then making your determination from there. But if you're only trading with today's price action and yesterday's high and low, you're not going to have as much conviction as if you had a longer term trend in there, even if it's just a few days in a row. But certainly haven't gotten that. So can't stress it enough. If volume is light and you're not getting follow through, there's nothing wrong with putting the initial trade on, but you certainly shouldn't be allowing a trade to have any room if it comes back down to a flat. You actually made a good point there before, Marion. Putting on the trade, there's nothing wrong with that. It's taking a loss further than you should have. That's the problem.
Right.
So I actually did not read much into today. I think that today on my scale, today would be flat out, gray. 64 million shares. We were commenting at around 10:30, quarter to 11 today, that I think the SPY specifically only had around 14 or 15 million at that point in the day, which is just absolutely atrocious. Now, here's what ends up happening, and here's the emails we get. People looking for reasons of why it's happening. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter why it's happening. It could be because we're close to resistance. It could be because we're Thanksgiving. It could be because of indecision with interest rates. The reason doesn't matter. If you're not getting followed through and stocks are trading in a really light volume environment, you just have to dial it back. Now, there were plenty of opportunities that we discussed this morning, and there were some really good opportunities, and traders took them. I mean, Starbucks was right out of the gate this morning. There was nothing wrong with that. We said it needed to prove to us it was going to break this 3-week move to the downside. It did. But again, it didn't get followed through. So I think James had a couple of good trades on early in the morning, and they kind of drifted back. Obviously, we don't know where he got out of them, but they were good calls. And I hope he ended the day saying I made good calls that didn't follow through, as opposed to I didn't make as much as I wanted to on that trade, because he's making good decisions, and that's really what we want to see. So that's about it. I really don't have a big opinion on today. I think that tomorrow. I need to see us get above that 210 level. We mentioned that quite a bit for me to have an opinion on the market. We've been analyzing the market internals to death, and the market breadth actually was about as neutral as I think it was like 3-3 today, so basically zero as well.
I think you're right. I think the market's going to have to prove itself to us. Yeah. And I think this morning we were talking about, I call it a pivot point, but it's a key area that it's going to have to get over for this market to get any more legs to it. I need to get some more steam.
The momentum move that we had here, we came into the day pretty convinced that we were looking to at least push up to the through 210, maybe 211. Now we got a little bit different scenario. I'm not changing my opinion that this is a nice rally off the lows and a part of this 5 or 6 week move to the upside. But I absolutely am not going to have an opinion going into tomorrow. I'm going to basically read the tape tomorrow, and if we stay above the opening price, that'll give me a little more conviction on my longs. If we vacillate back and forth, and again, this is what's interesting, Marion, is we kept making pivot points, but we never followed through on any of them. And then you look at the other side, you're like, okay, now we're making lower highs across the board. You can't get short here because it's strong and you're still above the open. So the worst case scenario here is you're looking for a spot to get long still, which you might have had on this bottoming tail here, and then take another loss. One loss, two losses, three losses in a row on good trading ideas. Either you're trading during lunch and there's no volume, or there's just no volume in general. So you got to do the work. This isn't a market right now where you can go to your desk at 8:30, spend a half an hour looking for stuff to do and expect to make money. I have plenty of ideas on the blog post every day. You have plenty of ideas on the blog post every day. I know there's at least 4 or 5 hours between our blog posts that goes into it every day. So if you need some additional ideas, to add on to what you might be doing, anybody who's watching this video, definitely go to the blog. You're usually up, I would say, completed 8:15, 8:30 at the latest, and you'll find plenty of stuff to look at in addition to what you might be finding on your own.
Yep, I agree.
All right, that's it. I mean, 6.5 hours, and we're kind of no opinion, at least as far as I'm concerned. I will say this, though. We did mention the commodity stocks today. We might get some follow through on there again tomorrow.
Yeah, that'd be a good one to watch.
Yep. Okay, Marion, thank you. Have an awesome night.
Thank you. You have a good night.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.